It started like any other Tuesday afternoon in the small town of Elwood, Oregon, a quiet stretch of green hills and winding roads where nothing truly terrible was supposed to happen. 16-year-old Emily Hart left school at 3:07 p.m., just like she always did. Her backpack slung over one shoulder, earbuds in, phone in hand. She waved goodbye to a few friends, crossed the parking lot, and started the familiar mile-long walk home. The road she took, Maple Hollow Drive, was lined with trees so dense they swallowed the light after sunset. It wasn't unsafe, exactly, but locals used to joke that once you turned onto Maple Hollow, it felt like stepping out of the world. Emily never made it home. By 6:30 p.m., her mother, Diane, had called her phone 6 times. The first few went straight to voicemail. The last one rang twice before cutting off. Diane told police later that it wasn't panic she felt, not at first, but that heavy, sick kind of worry that sinks into your stomach when something's just not right. By 7:10, she was standing on Maple Hollow Drive with a flashlight, calling her daughter's name. The search started that same night. Deputies from the Elwood County Sheriff's Office canvassed the road, combing through ditches, driveways, and wooded paths. They found one of Emily's earbuds lying in the grass about halfway between the school and her house. The wire had been snapped clean in two. A few yards away, her phone case, pink, with small cartoon stars, lay cracked near the edge of a storm drain. But the phone itself was gone. The following morning, the town of Elwood woke up to flashing lights and yellow tape along Maple Hollow. A missing person case quickly turned into a community-wide obsession. Flyers appeared in shop windows, volunteers gathered to search the nearby woods, and local news vans crowded the narrow streets. Everyone wanted to help. Everyone wanted to believe she'd just gotten lost, or maybe decided to stay with a friend overnight. But no one truly believed that. Not after the first 48 hours. The first real lead came from a doorbell camera. A family who lived just off the main road submitted footage from around 3:18 p.m. It showed Emily walking past their driveway, head down, listening to music. Nothing unusual, until, 5 seconds later, a dark blue pickup truck appeared behind her. It slowed slightly as it passed, almost hesitating, before continuing down the road and out of frame. Police released a still image from that video to the public, showing the truck's rear quarter panel and part of a faded bumper sticker. They asked anyone who recognized the vehicle to come forward. By that evening, they had dozens of tips, and one stood out. A retired mechanic named Ron Miller called in to report that the truck looked just like one he'd serviced a few months earlier. It belonged to a man named Craig Wilton, a construction worker who lived a few miles north of town. Wilton was known around Elwood. A quiet, solitary man in his late 30s, often seen at the local hardware store or grabbing coffee at the diner. He'd moved there 2 years earlier, renting a small cabin near the edge of the woods. No criminal record. No apparent ties to Emily or her family. Still, detectives brought him in for questioning. He said he didn't know Emily Hart. Claimed he'd been working a roofing job across town the afternoon she disappeared. His boss confirmed the job existed, but couldn't say for sure if Craig had stayed the entire day. The truck, however, was his, a dark blue 1999 Chevy Silverado with a faded "Support Our Troops" bumper sticker. When investigators asked to search it, he agreed. At first glance, the truck looked ordinary: worn seats, tools in the back, coffee cups in the holder. But under the passenger seat, police found a single charm from a bracelet. A small silver heart, engraved with the letter E. Diane confirmed that Emily had worn that bracelet every day. The discovery changed everything. Craig Wilton was taken into custody, though without direct evidence of foul play. The charges were limited. He maintained his innocence, saying the charm must have fallen there somehow. Maybe she'd dropped it, maybe someone planted it. The sheriff's office continued to search the woods near Wilton's cabin. After 3 days, they found tire tracks matching the pattern from his truck leading off a narrow trail. A few yards in, officers discovered what appeared to be disturbed soil, as if something had been buried and then dug up again. But the spot was empty. What they did find, though, were 2 plastic zip ties and a strip of duct tape with a faint trace of long, blonde hair stuck to the adhesive. DNA testing later confirmed it was Emily's. The case ignited national media attention. For weeks, her photo filled news broadcasts, the smiling high school sophomore with hazel eyes and a messy ponytail. People began calling her the girl from Maple Hollow. Candlelight vigils were held, and the community rallied around the Hart family. Still, no sign of Emily herself. Then came the text message. At 2:14 a.m., 8 days after she vanished, Diane received a message from Emily's number. It read simply, "Mom. I'm okay. Don't look for me." But investigators quickly noticed something odd. The message had been sent from a cell tower nearly 60 miles away, in a direction opposite where Wilton lived. The wording was also off. Emily rarely called her mother Mom. She always texted Mama. The phone pinged once more that night, briefly connecting near an abandoned rest stop along Interstate 84. By the time police arrived, it was gone. The following week, a jogger spotted a torn piece of blue flannel near the edge of the Columbia River. It matched the shirt Wilton had been seen wearing in one of his Facebook photos. The area was searched extensively, but again, no Emily. And then, nearly 4 weeks after she disappeared, a fisherman reported something tangled along the riverbank. It was a backpack. Inside were notebooks, a few pens, and a school ID card for Emily Hart. Everything was damp, but police managed to recover a few partial fingerprints from the zipper pull, none belonging to Craig Wilton. Instead, they matched someone else entirely. A man named Tyler Jennings. Jennings had a record, mostly minor offenses: trespassing, public intoxication, theft. He was 27, unemployed, and lived in a trailer park about 15 miles from Elwood. He also happened to be an acquaintance of Wilton's from a previous construction job. When police brought him in, he denied everything. Said he hadn't seen Wilton in months. But during a search of his trailer, investigators found Emily's missing phone, hidden behind a loose panel under the sink. The phone had been wiped clean. No photos, no messages, no data. But digital forensics revealed something chilling. The phone had been connected to Wi-Fi at Wilton's cabin 2 days after Emily vanished. That discovery tied both men together in a way neither could explain. Wilton maintained that Jennings must have stolen his Wi-Fi or framed him. Jennings claimed Wilton had given him the phone, saying it was junk he'd found. As the investigation deepened, a disturbing pattern emerged. Surveillance footage from a local gas station showed both men together on the day Emily disappeared, just an hour before she was last seen. They appeared calm, talking casually while paying for drinks. Wilton's truck was parked outside. When confronted with the footage, Wilton went silent. Days later, he requested a lawyer and stopped cooperating entirely. Jennings, on the other hand, began to talk, though his story kept changing. At first, he said he didn't know anything about what happened to Emily. Later, he admitted Wilton had asked him to help get rid of something heavy. He said he didn't ask what it was. Police obtained a warrant and drained a small pond about half a mile from Wilton's cabin. What they pulled from the muddy water confirmed everyone's worst fears. A blue tarp. Inside were pieces of clothing later identified as Emily's, a denim jacket, sneakers, and a school lanyard. But her body wasn't there. Despite the mountain of circumstantial evidence, prosecutors had a problem. Without a body, a murder charge would be difficult to prove. Wilton was held on obstruction and tampering charges, while Jennings faced charges for possession of stolen property. The case stalled. Months passed. The town moved from hope to resignation. Vigils grew smaller. News coverage faded. And Maple Hollow Drive became a place people avoided after dark. Then, in late February, almost 5 months after she disappeared, a hiker exploring a forest trail 30 miles from Elwood stumbled upon a shallow grave. Inside were human remains wrapped in a dark plastic sheet. Dental records confirmed they belonged to Emily Hart. Her hands had been bound with zip ties. In her pocket was a crumpled note, scrawled in pencil. The words were barely legible through the moisture, but what they could read sent chills through everyone who saw it. He wasn't alone. Both Wilton and Jennings were charged with her murder. But even then, their stories contradicted each other. Each blamed the other. No one could say for sure who had lured her off the road that day, or who had written that final note. During the trial, the prosecution painted a picture of two men, one calculating, one desperate, who crossed paths at the wrong time, united by something dark and unspoken. The defense argued that the note suggested another person entirely. Someone still out there. The jury deliberated for 9 hours. In the end, both men were found guilty of second-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without parole. Yet, even after the verdict, questions lingered. In one of his final interviews before sentencing, Tyler Jennings told a local reporter, "You think you know what happened, but you don't. There was someone else that day. Someone she trusted." When asked who that was, he just smiled. Police never found evidence of a third suspect. But to this day, locals still whisper about the missing pages from Emily's journal, the ones she kept in her backpack, the ones that were never recovered. Some say they might hold the answer. Others think they were destroyed long ago. What remains is a stretch of quiet road where the air feels heavier, where flowers still appear by the ditch every few months. A place that reminds everyone in Elwood that evil doesn't always hide in the dark. Sometimes, it drives right past you in broad daylight. And maybe that's the most chilling part. Because somewhere between the school parking lot and her front door, a 16-year-old girl simply vanished. And though her killers are behind bars, the truth about what really happened on Maple Hollow Drive may never be known.